Morning, everyone, and welcome to our fourth and final episode of the Women Wellness Podcast brought to you by Girl Up Brugen. And I'm Ariesya, the Vice President of Girl Up Brugen, and I'm truly honored to be talking about a topic that I hold so closely to my heart, which is the empowerment of Muslim women, which is titled in today's episode as Solidarity in the Hijab. So as young women, especially in the peak of modernity, it's absolutely crucial for us to recognize the significance of being a Muslimah. To be a Muslimah is a privilege, as we are the embodiment of the wisdom and peace that Islam instills within us, and we navigate the world through our aqidah and remembrance of Allah through every means. And the hijab that we wear isn't just a fabric that we wear to cover our hair. However, it's a commitment to modesty and an emblem of our beautiful religion, especially in a world where society tends to misunderstand and be prejudiced against Islam. And through our faith, we as Muslims come in harmony as we share our commitment towards living a life of modesty, tawakkul, yaqeen, and everything else that's loved by Allah. And it's through this that we culminate a sense of sisterhood, where we uplift one another across geographical and cultural boundaries. And hence this beautiful connection between the hijab and our experiences as Muslimas. It's the central focus of today's episode, the solidarity in the hijab. And to discuss this esteemed topic with me today is none other than Ness Salleh, who is a public figure known for being outspoken towards living an Islamic-based lifestyle. So please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you for that introduction. Yes, I am outspoken, and I've got into trouble for being outspoken, but that is the price to pay for believing in your beliefs and your principles. Hi, my name is Ness Salleh, Haji Ahmad Saleh. I'm 41 years old. I am a mother to two teen boys. I studied, what did I study? Human biology from the University of Southern Queensland, and I graduated in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. I've lived out of Brunei for a quarter of my life, 5 years in Australia, and 6 years in the Middle East. The latest country was Oman. I'm currently a student of Ribad Academic Institute, which is based in USA, and I'm studying to be certified teacher in teaching Islamic studies to teenagers. I'm also currently memorizing the Quran, and I'm also guiding my son to memorize the Quran as well. So yeah.
That's really empowering. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, without further ado, I have a bunch of questions to be asking Ness Salleh. And the first one is, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions people have regarding the treatment of women in Islam?
I would like to begin with saying that I'm not a scholar in any way, and whatever I have to say is based on what I have studied with my teachers from the Ribad Academic Institution, and these are all being taught in Islamic sciences. So, first question, so very interesting. Would you like me to answer that in a local context or in a more global context?
You can answer in the local context first. Yeah.
Local context. I would say that majority, not all, and I do see a shift in the misconceptions that the Muslim men are superior to Muslim women. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, because Allah did mention in the Quran, in Surah Al-Ahzab, verse number 35, and I'll read it out just quickly. Innama muslimin, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Innama muslimin wa muslimat. Wal muslimin is the men. Wal muslimat is the women. Wal mu'minin, the men. Wal mu'minat, the women. Wal qanitin, the men. Wal qanitat, the women. So you can see this is actually a pattern in the Quran. Allah will mention men and women, same line. So the definition, the translation of this ayat is that for all Muslim men and women, believing men and women, and so on and so forth. So it is actually here where we can see that the misconception that men are superior to women is being debunked by Allah Himself. Yeah. Second thing that I would like to touch is that women cannot be teachers or cannot be leaders or cannot be scholars who have men as their students or men as their insubordinates. And this is very clear when Allah mentioned this, and when Allah was referring to Maryam alayhi salam, do you know who she is?
Yeah.
Who is she?
Isa.
Yeah. And we all know that what happened to her, right?
Yeah.
She got she had a child,
Yeah.
and this was a miracle of Allah Ta'ala.
Mm.
And then one of the things that is very interesting when Allah mentioned in the Quran pertaining to Maryam alayhi salam is that the last ayat, the last word that Allah mentioned is minal qanitain, minal qanitina. And if we were to study the Arabic language, if just now you remember I said minal wal muslimin, in is for the men, muslimat is for the women. But this is wal minal qanitin. Teen is, in this case, it is a plural form which addresses both men and women. So in this ayat or mentioned in Surah Al-Tahrim, verse number 12, Allah has mentioned Maryam, daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, so we breathed into her our spirit, and she testified to the truth of the words of her Lord and his books, and she was one of the voice of the devout. Devout here in sense of amongst the devout men and women. So Allah has elevated the status of Maryam alayhi salam as someone, as a leader, in terms of piety, in terms of taqwa, to both men and women. And I will mention this in the later question, so I just need to say this. Do you know who Nafisa at-Tahira? No. Who is the Imam of our mazhab?
Imam Shafi'i.
Imam Shafi'i. Nafisa at-Tahira is the great granddaughter of Hassan bint Ali. Who is Hassan bin Ali?
Is it Sayyidina Hassan?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So he's the grandson of the Prophet. So Nafisa bint at-Tahira is the great granddaughter of the grandson of the Prophet. She is a well-renowned scholar who taught Imam Shafi'i. So Imam Shafi'i had a Muslim woman as his teacher. So this is one of the things that we must know as Muslim women, that if someone tells you you're a woman, cannot teach, you're a woman, your place is at home. No. We have many examples in the history of Islam. Women were forefronters. They were on the frontliners of Islam. So that's the second one. And shall we go for the third one?
Yeah,
Yeah?
sure.
Okay, for the third one would be women have rights in Islam. I'll give you an example of a conversation, not conversation, but this is the idea of Aristotle. What do you think Aristotle mentioned about women?
I have no clue. I just know that he was a philosopher. Yeah.
But he argued women are not full human beings.
What does that mean?
That means that women don't have
Rights.
they don't have rights.
Oh.
They can't demand rights because they're not full human being. How do you say a person equal, biologically equal, biologically, equipped as a person, as a human, not equal, not as a full human being? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But in Islam, women has every right to say no if she doesn't want to marry someone who asks for her hand in marriage. Women has every right to work.
Yeah.
Women has every right to vote. Women have every right to tell me what do you think women don't have a right to?
Sometimes in like workplace, women's opinions aren't always heard, as people are like thinking, oh, these women are only answering based on their emotions or they're being irrational, which actually we talk about this in I think I mentioned this to you guys, but we talk about this in school, like the difference between woman empowering and feminism. So sometimes like in a workplace, women aren't always taken seriously, and there's always been a culture where women aren't good as leaders. When actually, based on what you said earlier, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have already put it in a way like women and men are equal. Women and men they are both capable. So why are we as the servant like trying to prove something that Allah
himself already. Allah himself, salah tu. Allah himself.
Yeah, himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are we trying to like say something that are different from what Allah sendiri already proved
Yeah.
to us?
That's true. That's right. And that is where the cultural differences is so obvious. And this is what happens when culture plays too much role in the society. It removes the essence of Islam. You know, women can do this, women can do that. But we've seen the examples of, and I will show you again one of the examples. The first woman to go into battle, the first woman to go into battle at sea. Well, she volunteered herself. The Prophet said, "Who will go to battle? Me. I want to go."
Oh.
And she died in battle.
First shahid, yeah.
Yeah, and the person who protected the Prophet ﷺ during the battle of
Was it one of the
Uhud,
Perang?
Uhud,
Yeah.
battle of Uhud. She's a woman. The Prophet didn't say, "Hey, you go home, go take care of your kids." No, what did the Prophet say? Wherever I turn and I look, I saw her. Wherever I turn and I look, I saw her. It means that she was so swift and quick to defend the Prophet. She was moving so fast. The Prophet like, sini Nusaibah, sana Nusaibah. So if a man, by the way, this is not a man hating session, but I just want to say that. And mashallah, I am married to a very wonderful man who gives me the freedom to do whatever I want. So I just want to say that if we learn, both men and women, learn the true Islam, we will work together to complement each other, not against each other, right?
Yeah.
So if we can see that in the past when the Prophet ﷺ worked together with the companions, the female companions, it was a harmonious community. Everyone played a role. The women played a role, the men played a role. Sometimes they cross over, sometimes they don't, but it worked very well and it flourished. Because of that community, this is why we are born Muslims. Because of that community, the pioneers, which included both men and women.
Islam is really, it really like when Rasulullah was apa tu namanya, kind of kebangkitan Rasulullah, he was actually the one who showed to the old culture before Islam came.
Yeah.
He showed how high and how this woman has like worth. Yeah.
Exactly. So there are a lot of instances in the Quran where an ayat came down because of women, an ayat came down because of question by a woman, an ayat came down to defend a woman a lot. If you actually dig deeper or learn our religion, we were able to see this, and we were able to feel that this is a religion I inherited from the Prophet ﷺ through all these men and women, and we should feel proud of that, and not just like slither away and hide away.
Also, the fact that Muslim mothers are actually placed like 3 times higher than that of Muslim fathers. Yeah.
Let me just say, my favorites. I would have 2 teen boys. So the brain of a teenage boy is not well developed. They're developed when I think they're either 20 or 30s. So you have to keep reminding boys. Always keep reminding boys, men as well. And whenever I tell my son to do something, it's a chore or it's a task or whatever, and he will say, "I'll do it later," and I'll give him 3 chances. And then the third chance, I'll say, "What did the Prophet say about mothers?" I said, "The first time I gave you, second time I gave you, third time. What did the Prophet say about mothers?" Okay. And also strangely or ironically, or maybe because the way I taught my kids, whenever it's time to pray, I only have to call them once. Alhamdulillah, they come. But if their father, they have to call balik, like time to pray. And I was like, well, mother, hadith, very powerful. It's on my side.
Syurga is di telapak kaki ibu, like that age-old saying lah. Yeah.
So it's and you can see like a lot of hadith. Are you guys the only daughters in the family, or you have sisters?
I have a sister.
How many sisters?
Only one.
Only one.
She's like 3 years older than me.
Do you know the hadith about the sisters, about daughters?
Maybe no.
No.
So the Prophet, someone asked the Prophet that I have 3 daughters. Will I go to paradise because of it? Because as in the old Arab Jahiliyyah culture and anywhere else really, baby boys are being valued
Yeah,
than
yeah.
baby girls. So when Islam came, the Prophet said, "Do not bury your children." And this is the very very important bit. Islam is a religion of reward. Islam is a religion of forgiveness. The Prophet said that if you take care of 3 of your daughters, you'll be rewarded Jannah. So how is this related to back to the Jahiliyyah days? Because a man came to the Prophet and said that I killed 10 of my children and they're all girls.
Yeah.
So he was very remorseful. After he came to Islam, he was very remorseful. So what did Islam do? Islam forgave and also at the same time reward. So when the man asked, I have 3 daughters, and Prophet said, take care of them and you'll be rewarded Jannah. What about 2? Jannah. So 2, Jannah. 1, Jannah. So taking care of daughters is highly valued in Islam because this is what the Prophet came to disperse the old tales of daughters not being valuable. And then when Islam came, Allah said, no longer not invaluable.
Yeah.
Take 1, Jannah. Take 2, Jannah. Take 3, Jannah. Take all of them, Jannah. So I think that's a very beautiful replacement or a beautiful reward given by Allah.
I actually learned so much from what you said. I've never actually known that that was the status of daughters in Islam.
This is beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Because zaman jahiliyyah, like
Yeah.
ada anak baby, they kill them because like they figure this anak will not bring anything good
Honor
to them.
killings, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And wasn't it Sayyidina Omar that came to
He dared
the
to
Prophet? Yeah.
That was like before he had,
Before he came.
yeah, because before he was Muslim, he was like anti-Islam.
Bin Rabi's.
Yeah.
He had a temper, but after
Yeah.
Islam, he used his temper for the goodness. So the lessons from that is that if you have something good before you decide to practice Islam, bring that goodness after. Bring it forward. Don't let it stay behind. So I've always been outspoken, even before I pakai hijab. Like I've always been, like I would get into arguments and sort of thing. And after I wore the hijab, I was very quiet. But I wasn't feeling like, oh, this is me. But I've slowly rediscovered how I can use my voice in terms of advocating for, Muslim women. I would say advocating for Muslim Islamic parenting. So that is a lesson from Sayyidina Umar, which I really love. Whatever you have before Islam, use it for after Islam, if it's good.
I feel like you talking about the hijab kind of like segues nicely into the second question because obviously we know that there's been negative discourse regarding the hijab as, people find it to be disempowering. It kind of silences women in a way. And I just wanted to know what your take on that is. And additional question, how does the hijab define you as a person?
There's an interesting article in travestingtrad.com, I think. So it's called Hijab, Not My Body, Not My Choice. What do you think that means?
It's decreed by Allah that you have to wear it no matter what.
So hijab is not actually a choice. And I want to correct this. Hijab is not a choice. It's an obligation by Allah Ta'ala. Whether you accept that or not, it is decreed. Just like how Salah is decreed, an obligation. How fasting is decreed, an obligation. You like it, you don't like it, you have to do it. However, this is where the mercy of Allah comes in. A woman, or I would say a woman, because after you get your period, you are already a woman.
Yeah.
And interestingly, in Islam, there's no such thing as teenagers. So there's no teenage phase. It's you are a child and then you become a woman because you're already menstruating. Once you're menstruating means that you can have children, right?
Yes.
So the beauty of Islam is that between the ages of mumayyiz means to know the difference between right and wrong, not baligh, mumayyiz. That is where the education of modesty, of aura, of what it means to be a Muslim comes in, and that is where the mother plays an important role. Al-Ummu al-Madrasa al-Ula. The mother is the first school of the child. Okay? So hijab, or modesty rather, because if I were to say hijab, we have this idea, it's just a scarf.
Yeah.
But modesty is everything,
Mm.
from the way you dress, from the way you carry yourself, from the way, it's a lot of things. So these things are being taught, should be taught before you reach the age of 12, or whenever we start menstruating. The negative discourse around the hijab is because of the Western propaganda
Mm.
of being afraid at what Muslim women can do. So they are afraid of the power Muslim women hold, and this is proven, years and years and years proven, that Muslim women can have powers, can hold, can make changes in the world, in the society. And a woman who is strong in faith and does not have any fear of any human is a very, very scary thing to a person who has no faith, who has nothing, who has everything to lose, because they're so attached to the world. I have money to lose, I have power to lose. But a woman strong in faith will say, this does not determine whether I am good for you or not, but because this is what Allah tells me, and I'm good for Allah. That's all that matters. So Western propaganda, they started to demonize hijab. They demonize the Muslim women as being backwards, as being oppressed. But what did Aristotle say? Aristotle said that women are not even full human. And 50 years before the birth of the Prophet ﷺ, priests actually got together and had a debate. Do women have souls? Because do they deserve to go to paradise if they don't have souls? It's a very strange debate. We had, in Islam, we never had this debate. We never separate between men and women, whether one is a full human being, one is less human being. By what count? One has a soul, one doesn't have a soul. By what count? Allah said no. Man, woman, you are the same. You're made biologically different, but the best of you are those who have taqwa, who have piety in Allah Ta'ala. So whenever someone mentions, and this goes to hijab, burning the Quran, what else? Slandering the Prophet.
Yeah.
If you are strong and you have knowledge, those two things are important. You're firm in your faith, and you have the knowledge. Why am I doing this? Why do I dress this way? Who am I? No matter what people say, it's like, oh, you're oppressed. Tell me something. Oh, you're this. You're this. So someone said to me, like, oh, women cannot work, they have to stay at home. Dude, Nusaybah went to war. Ashifa binti Abdullah, she was put as the manager of the souk, of the market, by Umar al-Khattab. Do you know how hard it is to manage a market? And a woman put in charge. So meaning apa? Smart. And Umar trusted her. Prophet trusted Nusaybah. And Imam Shafi'i took knowledge from a woman. What does that say? This one is an obligation to Allah Ta'ala. It does not diminish me in any way. It does not. Because I believe this is what Allah wants me to do. This is what Allah tells me to do. I'll do it.
And just to throw in a personal anecdote, I personally really struggled with wearing the hijab for a multitude of reasons, but primarily it was due to the fact that I felt like I wasn't pretty enough when I wore the hijab, like I felt like others could pull it off and not me, and that like it didn't complement my face shape, my facial features and all of that. And I feel like, in other words, I felt like it kind of concealed my beauty. I couldn't really show the extent of my beauty, and I feel like that has like a commentary on itself with towards societal standards today, where we feel like we as women feel defined by beauty only. I guess that was the case in my situation, and
I think that's
yeah.
an all-time case. Like I had that. I wore the hijabs in 2000, 7 September 2006. So 2 more years and it'll be 2 decades. And we all felt the same way. I felt the same way. So when I wore the hijab, I wore like a really heavy makeup. I did everything like full on because I didn't feel pretty. Same. I didn't feel pretty, and and my outfits were outrageous because I didn't feel pretty. But then after a while, mixing with the right people, learning more about the deen, and I realized, okay, there's a standard of beauty which was set by people who do not believe in Allah Ta'ala. This standard of beauty is set by again, the West, and their definition of beauty is all about showing off what you have, like exposing yourself rather than concealing yourself. And this does not what you call it is not what we believe as Muslims, not just women, but men as well. Men should also, expose themselves. Same thing with women. And when we understand why Allah wants to protect us by covering ourselves, that is when we feel, okay, like I don't need this. I don't need that. I feel better just the way I am. And I would like to say that for like almost 20 years of wearing the hijab, alhamdulillah, this is one part of my life where I don't struggle because I'm really confident in it. I can do whatever I want with it. I can swim with it. I can go diving with it. I can climb a mountain with it, which I did all. I climb a mountain with a skirt even, so don't never do that. Don't go mountain climbing with a skirt. But I did so many things with my hijab, not to prove that I can do things with my hijab, but to prove that I'm comfortable. I can do whatever I want with what I wear, and it doesn't deter me from doing anything. As long as it doesn't go against what Allah tells me to do. That's it.
I feel like now that I wear the hijab, I don't feel defined by beauty anymore, like compared to before. And now I feel defined by my modesty, and it feels like I'm this walking emblem of my religion. Even if I'm in the low state of iman, like whatever state of iman that I'm in, even if I'm at the lowest, I know that the hijab is what keeps me grounded.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And I feel the same way. Like you said, we have different stages of iman, and phases of life and seasons you go through. And one thing that's consistent, I would say, through everything would be me holding onto the hijab. It's just holding it really tight. And I would say this is like I would tell myself, remember why you did this in the first place, and remember why you started. Remember what's your end goal, and just carry on after that. You're like, okay, I can do this.
I do want to add on that Allah asked women to wear hijab. I feel like Allah has always had it all figured out. Even though women are wearing hijab, Allah is like doing that perintah. There's like goods to it. There's like ada sebab behind why He suruh we pakai hijab, and He is like on our side. Like sometimes people pikir macam, oh, why is Allah asking me to pakai hijab? People sometimes pikir Allah is not on their side. Sedangkan Allah is always close to us. He always thinks about us because we're His hamba.
Yeah.
And then He like listens to us too. So yeah, even though sometimes people say it's a struggle for them to wear hijab, but just like just remember that Allah is always on your side. He's always there for you, and yeah, He's very forgiving too.
And I was telling you just now that we all have different struggles. So maybe for us, wearing the hijab is no longer a struggle. But other things might be a struggle. Maybe our prayer is a struggle. Maybe our fasting is a struggle. Maybe giving sadaqah is a struggle. Maybe listening to haram music is a struggle. So we have different struggles.
Yeah.
And we all get through it by doing it bit by bit, one step at a time. For us to wear the hijab, it didn't start just pakai and then you feel like
Yeah.
I was so afraid of getting out of my house the first day I wore hijab because I was in Australia and I was in a little small kampong where people were very racist and they hate Muslims, and I was so afraid. I remember I was just like go back forth, like keluar pintu, masuk pintu, keluar pintu, masuk pintu. And then I decided to just wear the hijab, I decided to go out, and everything was well. My friends accepted me, my lecturers accepted me, and I was like, why was I so afraid? It's because of maybe I was afraid to disappoint people. I was thinking maybe I was afraid to disappoint my teachers because they no longer see me as, the one who does not cover up.
That's true, because I had that same experience as well when I started wearing the hijab. Yeah.
But then now you realize that it's no longer that, right? Yeah. And you are comfortable with yourself now. You are growing in faith and growing into the hijab, which shapes your faith. That's beautiful.
And now that we're talking about, we did talk about the value of women in Islam in the first question, and I just wanted to delve deeper into that. So can you give further examples of verses from the Quran or Hadith that show the value of women in Islam?
We mentioned a lot already, but I'm gonna tell you some books which were written by men honoring women. Okay, so there's a book called Women's Emancipation During the Prophet's Lifetime. It's by Abdul Al-Halim Abu Shukka. So he wrote 6 volumes in 1993 compiling hadith, all related to women. 1,800 pages, all related to women. So it's been abridged now. So I think it's less than 6 volumes.
There's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. But it was written in Arabic, of course. So now it's been compressed and abridged, and it's available. You can go to the book house, and I think they still have it. So there's a lot of hadith inside there pertaining to relationship to women. And another book, I know you guys are asking for hadith, but let me just say this book. It is by Sheikh Akram Nadwi, Al-Wafa bi As-Sama An-Nisa. So this is a 43 volume of female hadith scholars, teachers and narrators from all over the Muslim world, range from 1400 years ago. And anyone wants to take a guess how many scholars, Muslim women were there? He compiled
100,000.
10,000.
Wow.
Right?
They're
And
so
where are they? Why have we not heard from them?
Yeah.
Exactly. So Sheikh Akram Nadwi compiled, it's called Al-Muhaddithat, 10,000 female scholars from the time of the Prophet till recent who have contributed to Islam, narrated hadith, scholars of jurisprudence. 10,000. And and we want to take Taylor Swift and Katy Perry? No, we have 10,000 here. Okay, right. So that's one. And I mentioned just now the hadith on 3 daughters. So it says that Jabir bin Abdullah reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Whoever has 3 daughters and he accommodates them, show mercy towards them, and supports them, paradise is guaranteed for him." And then someone asked, "What about I have 2 daughters?" Paradise is also guaranteed. I love that one. And then also there's another hadith. I like that one. Someone asked the Prophet, "Who should I, devote myself to?" Your mother, your mother, your mother, then your father. I like to brag about this to my husband. I'm like, 3 times. SubhanAllah. And this is, this is not a hadith, but it's something very important that we all should remember. The first person to be a Muslim was a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
We always say the first woman to be Islam. No. The first person, not women, not men, first person to be a Muslim was Khadija. And she believed in the Prophet way before, because Khadija radiallahu anha is someone who's knowledgeable, smart, rich, well known, good looking. She's she's educated, which is very rare in that time, very rare, well educated. So she has studied that a man will come and he will be the last prophet. From where? They don't know. But a man will come. So she has actually been searching for the signs of this man to come. And she has been waiting, she has been searching. And when the when the helper of Khadija went to went with the Prophet to go to do business dealings, and the helper reported back to Khadija. Khadija said, "These are the signs of the Prophet, of prophethood. These are the signs of prophethood." She wasn't sure, but she was confident that it was. She waited so long. Eventually, he became the Prophet. It confirmed her belief. Without hesitation, she said, "Amantu billahi wa rasul."
Yeah.
First woman, not the one, first person was Khadija, and she gave all her money, her time. What else did she give? Everything to the Prophet to make sure that he will be able to spread Islam
Yeah.
smoothly. So the Prophet didn't have to worry. So yeah, Khadija,
And didn't he love her the most
The
out of
most.
all? Yeah.
which was the envious of his other wives. Yeah, it's like, oh, Khadija this, Khadija that. But how can you not be that much in love with a person who supported you from day zero? Who never, never, never said anything to hurt you, to belittle you, to say that you are crazy? No, no. Wouldn't you be so much in love with that person? I would. You know, sometimes when husband and wife fight, they're like, "You're crazy, whatever." You're like, "I don't love you anymore, bye." But this is a prophet who loved her whole entirely, could not forget her. She was still number one. And she is the first woman in paradise too. So there are 4 women in paradise, mentioned by Allah Ta'ala. And the thing about you can see how Allah elevated Khadija radiallahu anha was that Jibril sent his salam directly to Khadija. Jibril doesn't talk to anyone except the prophets. But here we have we have Jibril alayhi salam sending his salam to Khadija, which honors her, honors the status of women. What more can you? What more can you ask for? The wife of the prophet, Jibril said salam, first woman in paradise. I mean, come on. How can you not be proud that you are a descendant of Khadija? And I always say, I personally love Nusayba. I always say that I'm the daughter of Nusayba because Nusayba is like, yeah, let's go to war now, now. And I'm like that. Head on first, think later. So I always tell myself that I'm the daughter of Nusayba because I really love her. I really love her personality. I really love what she wants for herself and what for her kids. And I really admire her love for the Prophet. So we all should say that we are the descendants of Khadija radiallahu anha. We are Muslim women.
Yeah.
That's our mother, the mother of believers. So, girl, hijab what?
Girl power was already existed in Zaman Nabi.
Yeah, exactly. And there is no need to reinvent or dress it up and say this is feminism, this is empowerment of life. No, you are being elevated through your faith. Allah said that the best amongst you are those who have taqwa. You are being judged by your piety, not your gender, not your looks, not by your achievements in this world that has, may or may not contribute to your akhirah, but you are being judged by your piety. You take your piety and you go everywhere and you hold it strong. That's how you survive. When someone burns the Quran, I'm like, how many people are memorizing the Quran?
Yeah.
Burn lah. Not to say that it's not a disgraceful act. It is. We condemn the act of burning. However, it shouldn't affect us in a way that makes us want to destroy their book. They're like, okay, that is wrong, but the Quran is being preserved by so many people. And at this moment, people in Gaza, in Palestine, they're memorizing the Quran despite being displaced. Every day they have people who finish memorizing the Quran. So why should we worry? Again, got my Islam with me.
I feel like that also segues really nicely into our fourth question, which is how can we draw inspiration from the stories of Islamic history to elevate our women today?
I love this. This is my favorite part. And I've divided into two. So we have the past women from the past and the present women. So I've mentioned Khadija radiallahu anha. I've mentioned Nusayba. I've mentioned, who else did I mention?
I think
Yeah, those two. Okay. So we have Salama, the wife of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Salama, she said that, "O Prophet, why does Allah mention a lot of men in the Quran but not women?" And then the Prophet said, "Don't have an answer for that." And the next day, Allah reveal a verse about women, and the Prophet mentioned this verse in front of all the men to show that women are important in Islam. So Salama was the cause for several verses to be revealed. She's also a scholar of hadith and jurisprudence because she asked a lot of questions, and the Prophet was never bored of answering her. The next one would be Ashifa. Oh, I mentioned Ashifa, the one who guarded the market. So yeah. So Ashifa, what's unique about her is that she's literate. Literate, boleh baca, boleh tulis. Yeah. And back then, not a lot of women and men were literate. Remember, the Prophet was illiterate. So not a lot of men and women were literate at that time. But Ashifa was one of them who was literate. What did she do? She go around to all those women and teach Islam.
Oh, I've actually heard of that before. Yeah.
So she, not only she's in charge of the market, but she's also a teacher, a scholar, one of the 10,000 scholars. See? So she goes to the women, gathers them, and teaching their religion. Isn't that beautiful? Again, the goodness you have. She was literate before Islam. She was literate after Islam. She used it to benefit the ummah, the society. And then the one who went to battle, the first one to participate battle at sea, Haram binti Milhan. So she volunteered herself to go into the battle, and she got martyred along the way. But isn't that amazing? Like, you can imagine. Okay, why it's amazing because you just have to imagine the desert. Have you been to Umrah or?
Yeah, I have.
Have you been to a desert?
No.
Okay, just imagine like Umrah, right?
Yeah.
It's just sand. It's sand. It's and we have to go back then. We can't imagine Makkah right now. We have to go back. You have to go back. It's just sand. Everywhere you go, sand. No river, no seas, no nothing. Tiba-tiba, battle at sea. Are you prepared? Do you know how to swim? Can you imagine? Like, battle at sea. How does a sea look like? What is a ship? And then suddenly, go out. And rough waves and everything. But she said, it's okay. It's a battle. I die for the sake of Allah. Let's go.
MashaAllah.
So, one. So now move on to the modern one. So Nafisa At-Tahira, I mentioned just now, was the great-granddaughter of Hassan bin Ali, who was the grandson of the Prophet. So she studied and memorized the Quran, Islamic jurisprudence, and one important thing was that her father was a scholar. And when they moved to Medina, the father would bring Nafisa to the Prophet's mosque 5 times a day to do the prayers. Why? He said, you must not miss out in learning from the people. You must not miss out learning from scholars. So the father emphasized education for Nafisa. And when she was older, she taught Quran, Islamic jurisprudence, and from her teachings, she was able to educate a lot of scholars. And one of those scholars was Imam Shafi'i, which is Imam of our Mazhab. The next one would be Sheikha Munira binti Hamdi Kubaisi. This is a recent scholar. She was born in 1933 and she passed away in 2022. So with Sheikha Munira, she built a curriculum for women to study Islam. So she had a curriculum of 10 Islamic sciences. She taught them, and then she tells those who she has taught to teach others as well. So macam bertitian, you get me? Yeah. So like I teach you 10. You go out and find your own little group of women, teach them. And you don't just teach them to practice. You teach them to be teachers. Again, you go out. So it's some spread. like the da'wah amongst women spread that way. And then the next one would be Nana Asma'u. She was born in 1793, and she is the daughter of a caliphate at that moment, which resided in West Africa. So why was Nana Asma'u important? Because she was a learned scholar as well. Her father was a caliphate, also a scholar. So these are a family of scholars. What Nana Asma'u did was that teach one and then spread it. The same thing with Sheikha Munira, teach one and spread, teach one and spread. So the two key areas of Nana Asma'u was establishing a system of mentor and mentee. And that is how Islam was spread. The last one, which I told you, Dr. Mona. Dr. Mona Minkara, she's still alive, alhamdulillah. She's one of my classmates in Ribat Academic. Dr. Mona Minkara is an established scientist. She's blind. She's blind. She can't see. She is an assistant professor of bioengineering at Northern Eastern University, where she used computer stimulation to obtain a better understanding of the chemical interactions that occur in air, water, blah, blah. So basically, she is an established scientist. She won awards for discovering new protein patterns, not by seeing, but by listening.
Wow.
And on her website, Dr. Mona Minkara, she has tools for the blind scientists. So when she was offered a job, the professor said, she told the professor, why do you want me? I'm blind. I cannot see. Science is about seeing. You need to see the particles. You need to see this. You need to see the motion, everything. I'm blind. I cannot see. And he said, but you can hear. Maybe you can discover something that we all have not discovered, which she did. She discovered new protein patterns. And not only she is a scholar, not only she is a scholar in the sciences, she's also studying to be an Islamic scholar as well. So she has best of both worlds. And us as women, girls, I personally, if I had discovered Dr. Mona Minkara, if I had someone who was like that when I was younger, I think I would have gone further with my education and probably, delve in a deeper professional scene. Because back then, it's hard to see a Muslim woman who is professional but also strong of faith. So I hope that is inspiring to everyone. Everyone should Google Dr. Mona Minkara. She's the best. And listen to her talk. She gave a talk to the UN. That's really interesting.
So that's all for today's episode in the Women Wellness Podcast. So we at Girl Up Brugen would like to thank all of you for watching our series and being engaged with all of the episodes throughout, especially with the important topics that we discuss across our episodes. And yeah, thank you so much for having this conversation with us. Thank you so much. And I hope that our viewers will have a lot of key takeaways from this. I've definitely learned a lot,
I too learned a lot.
And
Thank you.
yeah.
No worries. It's so nice to learn that you have role models to look up in Islam, isn't it?
Yeah.
And these women, they have done so much phenomenal things. Definitely look up on them and read about them.
I'll definitely look them up later.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.